All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. It is exactly 9:31 in my time, and I'm going to try to avoid the whole "can you hear me" thing and assume that you can, and we're just going to get started. So the point of today's stream is that I am going to be doing a code review of the Command and Conquer source code. Which was released here relatively recently on the Electronic Arts page on GitHub. Now, we need to be clear about what exactly was released here. It is the core DLLs for Tiberian Dawn and for Red Alert. There's none of the art assets. There's nothing that would allow us to make a full game out of this. There's not really, I mean, we could compile it, but there's not a whole lot we can do with it. So we're going to just look through the source code at the moment, and we're going to try to put some historical perspective on this because, just brought this page up as I was getting ready to go live here. Command and Conquer was originally released in 1995. And then we got Tiberian Sun in 1999. And we got Red Alert in 1996. So these are not new by any means. And you should be aware, if you're not, that the first Tiberian, did I say Tiberian? Wait, is it Tiberian Sun or Tiberian Dawn? I cannot get this name straight for some reason. It is Red Alert and Tiberian Dawn. Tiberian Dawn. That says Tiberian Dawn. Sun. Where's Tiberian Dawn? The first game is sometimes referred to as Tiberian Dawn as a result. Okay. So that's just confusing. Whatever it is, it's one of those games. Yeah. You know, Vladimir, I am glad that you get notifications from me. I will try to watch the live chat, but obviously will not catch all of the things. This says Tiberian Sun. This says Tiberian Dawn. The source code here says Tiberian Dawn. So if you're not aware, we had C++ was originally, the first version of C++ was standardized in 1998. So all of this stuff, a lot of it is pre-standard C++. So just so that we're aware of that. Now, this project comes with a Visual Studio solution file right here, the CNC remastered solution. But I didn't feel like opening it in Visual Studio. Instead, I felt like opening it in CLion, which led me to my very first discovery about this. So I went ahead and threw together a quick CMake file. Now, CMake doesn't have to be complicated. I just said that I've got a single project here, and I've got two libraries, one called Red Alert and the other called Tiberian Dawn, since that's what the source code calls it here. And this is enough for CMake to create libraries out of this. And I saw this file called color list in here. So I just opened this one file, and now you're joining me at as much as I have done digging into the source code so far. The whole point of this, what beep? Is there a beep coming here? Man, that beep is annoying. If anyone else hears a beep, let me know. My editor beep. My editor has no beep. Does it? I'll make sure that all audio is disabled except for my microphone. I don't know where that's coming from. Oh, just my air ping sometimes. Okay. Yeah, oh, that's, I know what that is. That is my Lenovo keyboard. All right, everything's muted. Well, that won't happen again. So here, I jump into this first class, this first file, and I see this function.h not found. What the heck? I can't include the most simple thing. Now, this immediately shows us that for the entire lifetime of this code, it has been in Visual Studio, because this function.h is in lowercase. And every single file name in here is in capital letters. So if you do any sort of cross-platform development with a team, you've probably hit this before. I am not going to go through and try to make every single file compile in Linux with GCC, but I will touch these things from time to time. So then this also interestingly jumps out to me as saying that this code is 100% written to work with precompiled headers or with a Unity build or something else, because even the most basic colorlist.cpp right here can't compile because it's not including its own header file, colorlist.h. I find that surprising. So let's go ahead and pull that in. Colorlist.h. Okay. Now I should be finding my own header file without any problem, right? Colorlist.h. That should be found. And yeah, for people who commented on my other live streams that I did a really poor job of navigating between files, you're right. I've learned a lot since then, so hopefully it'll be less painful for those of you who already know Sea Lion. All right. So now we're getting something that compiles. I find that really weird. Yeah, I think all headers are in the PCH. Oh, it's my Streamlabs messages here. Why is the header colorlist? It's the same. It's consistent. COLRLIST. So all of these files would have gone back to a day when they were expecting 8.3 file names from DOS. I need to see if anyone sees that my Streamlabs comments are out of whatever, let me know. And total commander, select all, Control M, lowercase rename. Yeah. Global edit. Yeah, that's what I was actually thinking. If we want to go down this road, then we can see a dot C plus dot H. Could potentially do this. Does anyone know the capitalize? Is there a capitalize the result of this search regular expression? GU string will uppercase the rest of the line. Yes, okay. Yeah, so Windows NTFS and Mac's file system, I forget what that's called now, both have the ability to be case sensitive, but by default are not case sensitive. These comments that say, isn't it be easier to rename all the files and bash to lowercase? I don't know. I mean, maybe, but then we would have to literally change. I don't know if that makes more sense or not. All right. Oh, well, all right. What the heck? Sure. So how do I do the bash command to change all the files? Someone had commented on it. In total commander. Do I have total commander? I don't think so. I should have done SU. Yeah, so someone gives me a quick way to do this, I will do it. But otherwise, we're just going to keep looking at the source code, and I'll try to watch the stream. Someone tell me a quick way to rename all the files to lowercase, and I will. Oh, that was weird. That's a tab between the pound include and the quote here. Yeah. All right. So yeah, you're saying if it's called colorlist class, then why is it colorlist.h? I don't know. I can't speak to that, but they were trying to fit things within the 8.3 file names. I'm going to give this a try. If it breaks things, I blame you all. All right, so I'm going to do find here depth dash exec rename. Oh, with everyone else because of my setup here, I can't copy and paste your command. Caret. Does that look right? If your memory still works. Yeah, I don't have copy paste between two different computers though. Oh, not enough. Okay, we're not going to bother with that. Oh, wait. All right, I'll try one more command here for star and, no, for x and star. We're just trying to get these things renamed. People asking what in the world I'm doing. $x. Oh, I forgot the done. Cannot move directory into itself. All right. Ooh. This is probably a bad idea, but that's part of the fun of doing these streams. All right. Now I can go into here, and obviously this is going to complain. But that is very easy to do with a single shortcut. All right. Now, where was I? I was in color list. No. Yeah, I was in color list. That was quite the little diversion. Yeah, it does. Ah, Tiberian Dawn 132 profile. Okay. Okay, that was quite the little diversion, but we did that on purpose. So theoretically, to make the rest of this code navigation easier. Okay, so I've got my color list and I was scrolling through this code. I think yeah, I definitely cannot read Russian, but Google can. All right, let's see. So I'm curious about this. So I'm curious about a couple of things here. I see that in some places they use this initializer list right here, but this style equals, what is style? Style is a member. So we could do this. Now, so I wanted to say that I wanted to keep respect to the what would have been best practice at the time. So what I am doing here, like making this change right now, and using the initializer list for these things, this would have been possible in C++ 98, and it would have been considered best practice in C++ 98 as well. And I see that I have a destructor here, and even in C++ 98, we could have avoided destructors. So I'm kind of curious what this colors object is, which is a dynamic. Actually, thanks a lot for the help. And yes, the game was originally released in 1995. To those who suggested that I go ahead and rename all the files because it does make navigating this a lot easier. So this dynamic vector class, I want to go back to this. We're calling colors.clear in this colors list class destructor. So I want to go here and I want to know, like, what is this thing? Does it have a destructor? What is its clear? It doesn't seem to have a destructor. Doesn't have a destructor, but it has virtual functions. That's weird. Okay, so we do have a virtual destructor declared in the base class, which calls its clear function. So we could have followed the rule of 0 also in C++ 98. There's no reason for this destructor to be here at all. This colors object is going to automatically clear itself on destruction. We can get rid of that. And we could get rid of that destructor right there. Yeah. I don't know if I can do live subtitles. Can I? I don't know. Now, in 1995, C++ 98 wasn't a thing. You are correct. But I'm still saying in 1995, this still would have been possible. It still would have been best practices. So I'm relating it as close as I can to the standard that was released, C++ 98. That would have been released soon. Yeah, so there's so many of these that don't know. That's so weird. That there's so many things with missing headers. feel like we should open up this Visual Studio file a little bit more. Tiberian Dawn, Visual Studio. I really don't see how this code is supposed to compile. There's got to be some sort of precompiled header file somewhere in here. Uses NASM though. We can dig into that a little bit. So yeah, please go ahead and fix this. Is that? Oh no, we don't want to do that. I wonder what white they intended. Maybe there's one defined in a Visual Studio header that they're using. Here we go. WWSTD. I love this. They have these confidential project alerts at the top of them. I don't think it's confidential anymore after you released it open source, guys. WWSTD.h. All right. Oh, look. All right, which one did I? Oh, it's in type. Oh, I see. It's in the 132 lib. All right, get that compiling here. Down to pound define public private. Yeah, it looked like the color enum did not. Yeah, it was a virtual destructor, but there was just no reason to define it. We still could have gotten away without defining it, which I'm on board with. Yeah, so we've got these type def enums, things that could be num classes today, whatever. They did what they could do back then. Let's see, I don't know where else we should go from here. I'm planning to spend about an hour and a half total maybe on this today, so I'll be stopping in about an hour from now. So we looked at that, we pulled out this destructor, which was unnecessary. Oh, this is an interesting one. This treating return like a function call has never been required in C++ since the very earliest days, and was only required in K and RC way back in the day. Oh, sorry. The VS Code is not the IDE today. It is, in fact, I need to fix that. Yes, virtual can still be used in modern C++, no question. I'm going to try to fix my Streamlab thing here. Just a moment. Please make a new Command and Conquer. I am not going to do that. That is way outside of what I have time to do and skills. Okay, CloudBot. I need to change the timer. I'm using, not VS Code today, Sea Lion. Okay, fixed that. Sorry about that, everyone. So yeah, so I was left off here saying that we shouldn't be treating return as a function call. And I would say even in C++ 98, like that made no sense. It's not a function call. Never was a function call in C++, and never was a function call in any standardized version of C. So that's just a comment. There's nothing bad, it's just not right. In reference to Zolkovi. It's just a return is simply not a function call. So to treat it like a function call is just the not right way to do things. Now, I'm going to go on a quick aside because I can, I guess, because this is my channel. Now, this is a very unusual use case. But in C++ 11, and no, C++ 14, that is, and greater, these two statements have very different meanings. Now, like I said, it's an unusual use case, but this decal type auto here is kind of like perfect returning. It returns the exact type of the object. Now, if I do this bottom one here, I am returning a local identifier, I'm returning an L value, I'm going to get an integer back out. If I return this one, then I am returning the result of an expression, which now becomes a reference. So now this thing is returning an int reference. Again, this is weird and unusual, but it does, our compilers catch it here. Warning reference to local variable I returned. So it's in C++ 14, it can change the meaning of our code depending on the situation. And in C++ 98 or pre-98, it simply wasn't necessary. All right. Let's see. But, we're going to see this over and over again. Add item. This is interesting. Add item text. I want to see what this add item looks like. This takes a const char star. That is the text. It says it's not implemented. List class. List. So many header files missing. It's so weird. And tabs. I can't handle that. Okay. It was right there, wasn't it? So I'm adding an item with this text, and then I'm calling list.add, which is a templated type, which is really surprising to see in code from 1995, actually. Templates were really, really new to the language, 94, 95. So it's impressive, interesting to see templated classes in 1995 in game code. I'm really surprised they did that. So I get a comment here that function.h includes loads of other files. It doesn't seem to include the ones I need, though. Let's see. We're seeing the same thing. For those of you that followed me on my 13-hour live stream for Doom, we're seeing the same kind of thing that we saw there, where they've got parallel libraries that have exactly the same or almost exactly the same files between them. And I would say that totally should be abstracted out. The shared files that are actually the same should only be in one place. That would be much better. I don't even know where we're looking at Tiberian Dawn right now. Function.h. What? Unterminated conditional directive? What? Is that? That could explain this. Really? No, I'm not going to deal with that. No, actually, sure. Let's reload this in another encoding because this is interesting. This would have been a Windows. No, that's not the encoding they would have used. No, that gave the same result. I wonder what encoding it's actually in. Someone says Windows 1250. Did I try 1280? Did I try too late? Windows 12. Oh, I said 1258, and you're saying 1250 or 1252. Tiberian Dawn was a DOS game, yes. I'm doing this in Linux for the fun of it. I'm still getting the same weirdness. I don't think this is what they intended. Someone else said ANSI. I'm going to keep doing this until we figure out what in the world encoding this is actually in. Is there something that can detect that? Reload. And what? ANSI? I have no idea what this file is supposed to be in. But we do have to deal with this question of why does it think function.h's if-def is never terminated? We've got an if-def never, okay, and then an indef, and then an if0. That makes more sense than if-def never. Are you going to ever pound define never? That makes no sense. Obviously, we can't find windows.h because I'm opening this in Linux. And a bunch of includes. I'm going to zoom down to the bottom here. Which one does this match? What is the show matching thing here? This is very strange, regardless. I'm just going to put an indef at the bottom and just see what happens. Aha! So it tells me 1 is never matched because maybe it's just the encoding that's giving it a hard time. Weird. Oh, all right. If def never is a class hierarchy. Yeah. Weird. I'm no longer getting the error about the... Well, all right, that's probably not worth spending too much time on, but this could explain why we're not getting, why we're having a problem with our includes. That's what it could explain. I'm going to get back to color list. That's where we last left off. So this I find interesting because we're given a raw text pointer, and then we're adding it to a list, we're adding it to a list, we're adding it to a list, and at no point do we ever delete it, as far as I know. That's probably memory that's, who knows where that's coming from and whether or not it gets deleted. So that's potentially a problem. There's the oh, that's weird. Explicit void in the destructor. Weird. Okay. Remove scroll bar. So these look like GUI components. Maybe. Probably. Didn't even look at that to see what these are. Free software, distribute it. Okay, you'll find it useful. Yeah, they could be string literals, and then it would be safe. List doesn't own anything. Run the DOS to Unix script. It usually helps with encoding. Sure, why not? I don't have DOS to Unix installed. Weird. Yeah, okay, we're not going to worry about that then. We're just going to get back to this code. So let's see. Find the ID. If it does not equal 0, or it doesn't equal -1. Okay, that's a magic number, but it's fine. These look pretty good. Passing things correctly by value. They could be using const on these things or not. A lot of people don't like that, but that's fine. We could see where this color is used. All right, so the color is defined up here, but it might be one of 2 possible values. We could have, in C++ in this era, moved the declaration a little bit closer to the actual initialization. We could have used a ternary here to make the value const, possibly. Those all would have been options. Yeah, I'm just jumping into this code without having any idea. Unknown usage draw rect. What? Global variable logic page. Oh. Yeah, it looks like we've got a fair number of globals that we're dealing with in this code. Where was that? Graphic viewport. Oh, okay. That is all right, I guess. I don't have too much of a problem with that. Oh, CP 437. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so code page 437. Someone figured that out. Where was that? That's function.h. It's function.h. Yes. Oh, there's the if def never, I see. I want to do this. Okay. Reload and another code page. CP 437. CP code page 437. IBM 437? Hey! Look at that. That makes sense. The DOS code page. Yeah. All right. It's the DOS code page. Yeah, because of the pipe symbols. It totally makes sense now that I see it. All right. Okay, that was important. So we were saying we've got global variables here for our graphic viewport. That is often how these things are done. I don't have too much of a trouble with that. This is interesting. The bool, which could have possibly existed. Now this code was originally written for Visual Studio. This has all been Visual Studio. The first version of Visual Studio that I used personally was 6, I think. Nope. 97? Well, that's weird. So this would have been Visual C++, I guess. So it probably would have been Visual C++ 4.2 maybe? That they originally wrote this code with. So Microsoft's compiler was not very good back then. So that certainly could have been the result of some of this, some of their design choices here as well. Extern C functions, all right. So color list was just picked randomly, and here I am at the end of it now. All right. You just pick some random thing. I saw this A data file before. I'm going to click on this one and see what it is. So a bunch of static const configuration stuff for animations. Let's make this smaller. Yeah, animation classes. A lot of this feels so similar to the stuff that we saw when we were going through the Doom code. Like today, this could all be const expr. Since it's static const, there would be really no reason not to make it const expr today, I would think. Oh, I know what that sound is that you're hearing. I didn't know it was transferring over the mic. Yeah. So, oh, you're right. It was a Watcom DOS4GW game. It wouldn't have been Visual C++. It would have been Watcom, which, by the way, is open source itself now. Yeah, we could have quite the fun digging into the source code for Watcom from back in the day. Not today. But yeah, I agree. The code is actually quite clean. There's a lot of things going on here, but I find it interesting for all of these older game code bases that I look at. I have no idea this is how a modern game is developed today, that there's all these static classes, static const data things around that are like, this is exactly what this thing does. Now, this is interesting actually, because in a modern IDE, I get what these values actually are. This is the animation, this is the name, this is the size, the biggest, is it a crater? But they have the comments at the end of each line here because there's so many things that they are initializing. So it's an interesting question for you all. I don't know who all uses a modern IDE, but yeah, sorry. I will tell you what it was. It was this, which is a mouse repeller, because we've had occasionally mice in the area where the studio that I'm recording from at the moment, and that does an ultrasonic pitch, which I can hear. Even in my 40s, I can hear it. But I thought that it was being filtered out by YouTube on the stream. So yeah, so some of you are saying, yeah, that you would probably leave these comments if this were your modern code today because you're not sure your environment does this. I know that ReSharper C++ for Visual Studio does this, and C-Line does this. Those are both JetBrains products. JetBrains is not sponsoring me. I'm just liking to use their products lately, so I have them in here. So yeah, lots and lots of static data here that sets up the nature of this system, which, is probably much more efficient than having, make it all dynamic and then just a bunch of pointers to the things that they just created. Oh, look at this. You can see all of the types of weapons and animations that they never actually put in the game. These are things that could have existed, but didn't. That's interesting. Load the animation data. Whoa. Sorry, I got a little stuck on this code right here that loads the image data and then cast it to a void const reference to a pointer. Yeah, I don't see exactly what's going on here. I see a couple of comments from my moderators. Feel free to do what you need to do if people are being inappropriate. Thank you, Leslie. There would be no real output to get. So what Electronic Arts gave us is not a complete game. We don't have the assets. We don't have a way to create a full game from this. We just have these DLLs, which are supposed to help with making plugins for the newly remastered versions of these games. Honestly, I don't know how, but that's their intention. Yeah. It builds a DLL, but what would we do with it after that? Ah, so you can put it in the remaster and appears as a mod. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it could be interesting to take this stuff and do some modernization passes on it and whatever. I don't know, like other people said, this is remarkably clean given when it was. Like I've got very few things to talk about here. I mean, these are unnecessary. You didn't need to make explicit void parameters. Probably, maybe you did in the compiler they were using. We could have avoided destructors in a couple of places. Just from a personal like code cleanliness standpoint, I would have, use explicit braces everywhere. It's not like it's going to slow down the runtime or anything like that. There's a couple of questions maybe. Ooh. That's interesting. Custom operator new. I have not toppled on the Unreal Engine. I'll take a look at the Tiberian Dawn abstract.cpp in a moment. I can honestly say I have never once written an operator new overload for my type. That is an interesting one. So it's kind of, so if we were thinking about the Doom code, which was all written in C, whenever they wanted to allocate a new object, let's see if I can pull, I don't know if I can pull that up easily. In the Doom code, it was all written in C. Whenever they wanted to allocate a new object, they would go ask the memory pool for a new object, and that would give it back to them a void pointer that was the appropriate size and the appropriate location, and then they would treat it as this object. So what they did here is effectively the exact same thing that the Doom code did, but in a more kind of user-friendly way, because now if I just say new aircraft class, it's going to create one in the memory pool for me automatically. Yeah, they're using a memory pool here. What they did makes sense. Now, today, as of C++ 17, you would use an allocator to do this, and you could avoid making your own operator new, and then you could swap out your allocation strategies, and that is something that I've been playing with. So just for the fun of it, I will, yes, that's my YouTube channel. Thank you very much. This one right here, episode 222, kind of shows a more modern way of doing this, of using standard containers with allocators. And it's the same exact goal in all of these cases. Weird. All right. Yes, I did. PMR, episode 222, I think it was. Yeah, sorry. So there's like a 15-second lag, but I try to stay on top of things here. So yeah, again, all the same exact goal. I find it interesting that they were doing this operator new overload. Like I said, I've never done this in real code, but in personal code, but what they did, it makes sense. So let's see, let's look at their allocate. They have their fixed heap class, so they've got some big heap, and they're going to allocate what? Actually, that's a really good question. Aircraft.allocate. All right, so this thing, all right, it's getting its allocate from somewhere, presumably from this fixed iHeap class. Allocate an object from the heap, but allocate. So if you can't tell, something's bothering me here. And what's bothering me is how do they know how much memory to allocate? Returns a pointer to the newly allocated subblock. First available subblock in the heap and returns a pointer to it. Looks like they don't care. They have a maxed fixed size here. And whatever that size is what each object gets to fit into. So if they ever made an object that's bigger than whatever their heap blocks allows, then they would have a problem. Yeah, I agree that aircraft should know the size, but at no point does it actually use a size here. It just looks for the first free block. So unless they're using, no, they're not. I was going to say unless they're using the curiously CRTP to set the size. Count, total count available. Right. Size of each subblock within the buffer. Okay. Here's all the calls to this size. Size equals size. Okay. All right. I feel better now. All right. So there we go. So there's pools, I guess, of aircrafts, pools of other things. Okay. That's a little bit better. And then you have to match it. You have to do your own operator delete as well. Yeah, the size is in the constructor. I missed it. All right, so yeah, then we have to pair it with the delete. We have to free the block, whatever, if we can. Yeah, so someone commented that, yeah, of course the code is tidy because they're actually using lint, but I mean, the code is actually readable too. It's not just relatively well organized. It is also mostly readable. There's just a little bit of reorganization I would have done, and I would try to avoid, a couple random things. That's interesting. One shifted left type times. Oh, so they're just doing a set bit. They're setting the bits in here, getting the bit, whatever bit that is, and then doing an or equal bit set. I still don't like the returns looking like function calls, but, can only complain so much. Oh, what was the other file that someone told me to go to? It's really sad that it's surprised to use readable code. They did not use size of, not that I saw. Did they? Let's look at that again real quick. Where was that? All right, I'm officially confused now. Ah, okay. Again, another template. Okay, they did use size of. So a template on the type, and depending on the type, then they do this. So each object class has its own memory pool, which is, yeah, that's actually like shockingly type safe and memory safe. Should be assigned to aircraft. No. No, so Gasper, just to address your comment here, I'm not saying that people couldn't write clean code. I'm just saying people very rarely did, and particularly in 1995, using templated types and type safety instead of just writing C with classes and throwing a bunch of stuff into a giant memory pool is surprising. That is the part that I'm surprised about. All right, so a few people saying we should look at abstract.cpp at the end of the file. Apparently Watcom preserved the vtable through the virtual destruction chain, otherwise CNC would crash all the time. And SVC doesn't. It overwrites the vtable pointer with the vtable of the class currently being destructed. Presumably to prevent virtual functions of the class already destructed from being called. So this is a hacky workaround to restore the original vtable pointer after the destructor chain is finished for when the CNC code wants to call a virtual function on an object it just deleted. Wait. Why does it want to call a virtual function on an object it just deleted? This is a very recent one. This is as they were getting ready for the release to open source, it looks like. I'm not sure what to do with this. Yeah, you're right. It was only a couple of years after Doom. It is before Carmack had adopted C++. Quake is all in C++, and there's some early articles from him about how the features of C++ that he really liked from it and how he took away that you should const everything and whatever. To make delete this include the parent destructor. Let's delete this. Oh, okay, that makes me sad. I thought Quake was in C++. When did Carmack adopt C++? I know he did at some point. Oh, really? My history was off there. So the comments are saying Carmack didn't adopt it until Doom 3. I did not realize that. All right. Oh, my mistake. Quake 3, okay. All right. So let's see, when do we need to delete this? The foot takes damage. They're shooting themselves in the foot. Bad joke. Bad joke. All right. I don't know if I can explain the RTTI type. I will look at that in a moment. I want to know what this is about. So take damage. Let's see. Flying aircraft take half damage. Oh, okay. So a weapon hit an aircraft. Whatever the damage is, we're going to divide by 2 if height. So if height is greater than 0, if the aircraft is in the air, then apply damage to the aircraft. If the result is that it was destroyed, kill the cargo, announce its death, animate a fireball. That's fun. Ooh, if there is crew at a 90% chance, survival is clear to move. This is fun, actually. Then drop the paired drop, if possible. This is interesting. So they create a new infantry, and if it's not null, then they pair drop it. So they actually handle the case where they failed to create a new infantry. So it might have had a crew, and he might have survived, but the memory allocator might have failed. Therefore, he doesn't survive. The infantry doesn't. All right. And then delete this in the case that we were destroyed. So that's what they're doing. They're using delete this to handle the case where the health of the unit hit 0. Infantry.cpp 1065. Oh, so just for the record, delete this, while maybe technically sometimes allowed, is really never a good idea. There's almost always a better way to handle it. It probably would have made more sense, I'm just guessing, to put the deleted unit or the destroyed unit into a list saying on the next frame you need to destroy this unit, basically something like that. Then you could control when these things were being deleted and not have this delete this stuff. Soldiers get a postmortem medal. All right, someone's suggesting here infantry.cpp. Let's do the Tiberian. Actually, I have to do something. I'm gonna diffuse on this. Ugh. It looks like they are considerably different. It's like they took the code from one and copied it into the other and then did the updates that they wanted to do. Oh, look, it's in the wrong encoding. Yeah, something like delete later would have been... No, I'm not going to rewrite it in modern C++. The heck? Oh, the AI, is this what you're referring to? Rewrite it in modern C, huh? Oh, 1065 was the suggestion, not 1095. Okay. Oh my. Nakumba is really a coward at heart. He never becomes unafraid. So it checks for a specific Actually, I'm kind of curious. Infantry type. That's a car, but it's doing a dereference of this and then calling its not equal operator. Yeah, operator new delete. We're familiar with what that's doing in here. How's that working? I'm clearly missing something. How is this comparison working? I don't know. Oh, yeah, I guess it could be an implicit cast. There. Operator infantry type. Return class type. That's how it's working. So relying on this comparison, invoking the conversion operator to infantry type. Yep, okay. Yeah, that's how it was. Yep, you're right. Wait, who said, Gashper says cheat keys. Is that here in the infantry.cpp? If def cheat keys. Validates infantry pointer. Huh? That doesn't seem like a very good cheat keys. Debug dump. Okay. Ooh. Let's see how that gets called. Oh, that's just another debug dump call. How in the world do I check to see where commented out code is called? Find usage. Sure. I'm having a hard time finding where the cheat keys code is actually invoked. Virgin cheat keys. The special virgin limited cheat keys are enabled. This allows the cheat parameter and then only allows the Alt W to win the mission. Wow. The debug system uses DOS ability to dual screen with a monochrome screen. Is that true? That is... Wow. Is that actually what that mono class is referring to? Okay, so for those who are watching this and don't know this, it is actually what it looks like it's doing here. I don't even know. How do I want to do this? All right, let's see if I can do this. So they would have had a VGA display, which is what, at address like 4000 by default. And here in 32-bit mode, it was like address hex 40,000, something like that. Now, if you also had an MGA, monochrome graphics adapter card installed, now these things used two completely different memory addresses. So this has what? Control port, data port values down here. So this would have been its, whatever, some other completely different memory address. I don't know what it would be. And so if you had multiple EGA, VGA, graphics adapters, even CGA, they, back in the day, would have all used the same approximate memory address space and the same control ports and everything else. But the monochrome graphics adapter is a completely different technology. So if you managed to have a computer where you had both of these installed at once, which I never did that myself, then it was possible to do early dual screen output in PC era computers. So that's presumably what it looks like they were doing here to get debug output to a secondary console. 1000, thank you, not 4. And yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was possible. But these things, as far as I understood it, the VGA, EGA, CGA era all used the same like control ports. So you couldn't have multiple of those at once before the PCI era, when they would automatically assign their own plug and play kind of scenario. But the MGA, I just realized you cannot see any of the things that I just wrote on my screen. I was actually writing on the screen, but it was not being picked up. That is unfortunate. So yeah, so they used different memory addresses and different data ports, so you could actually address them separately. And you missed the whole diagram that I drew, so sorry about that. But that was the idea. So there you go. Maybe your mind was blown. Maybe it wasn't. Sorry that you missed the overlay that I wrote out. Now I'm actually really curious about something. No, I don't see any way to have captured it. All right, sorry about that. No, that's the idea. And it does seem to be what they're doing here. That's pretty cool. I approve. I've never had a setup like that myself. And it'd be interesting to do an automatic conversion of DOS to UTF-8 or something like that, so all these things showed up correctly in here, but then you wouldn't be able to actually see them printed out. That is an interesting idea, though. Actually, I kind of like the idea. I wonder how much this slowed things down when they would do a debug dump of the various infantry and aircraft and that kind of thing. Oh, so someone suggested that I go back and look at the RTTI stuff, which was, where was that? That was an abstract. Is it coming up in an hour and a half? It is coming up in an hour and a half. No, I'm going to stop in an hour and a half. Oh, webcam is gone. All right, webcam is not gone. I just, for whatever reason, got a... Oh, I see what happened. Okay, that is really weird. All right, yes, sorry. Yeah, I'm back. It was me trying to get the display for the pen interface to show up here, which that ended up being a failure. Now I think that we should still be getting the chat log shown up. But I seem to be back anyhow. If the chat log's not working at the moment. Oh, there we go. It's back. Okay. There's the overlay. All right. Yeah. Sorry. Everything's fixed now. So someone asked about this RTTI stuff, saying, what am I? So where is abstract type class used? Let's look at that. So abstract type class is probably used on almost all of these things. So what they built was their own way of saying at runtime, what am I? And so if it had not been implemented, it's going to return this abstract type. And if it had, what am I? So the infantry type is going to potentially validate itself. That looks like it was a debug thing. And then return this RTTI infantry, which is some sort of enumeration. So at runtime, when they're going through all of the different objects in here, they would be able to determine what is the type of each thing. I don't know to what extent that was necessary because they were also using virtual function calls. Weird, I'm getting lots of deleted messages from people. The webcam should be back. Yeah, the webcam's back, right? Or am I? No, I'm good. Okay. Gasper saying he's seen vtables longer than 4,000. And hopefully that Discord bad is actually being filtered before it shows up in the overlay. I can't tell if it is. I hope that it is. I don't know what it's trying to do. All right. So RTTI type definition. All it is an enumeration. That's it. Unsigned car. Okay, so someone might have to tell me this, and I'm looking to a couple of people in here that I know who are on the chat, but I didn't think that this was valid to explicitly specify the underlying type until C++11. Was that valid in C++98? Yeah. But the homemade RTTI should not have technically been necessary, but using the one that came with the compiler and the runtime at the time, or even today, some people say is far too slow, so they roll their own still in a lot of like game and component systems and that kind of thing. Leslie says probably a Microsoft extension. Now I feel like I have to go back and reread my history here. So yeah, this was fun, but I guess I'm gonna start shutting this down here in a minute. Since C++11, okay. It's not a bit filled, no. It's linearly assigned. It's just saying what is the type of the thing. Although, again, it is interesting looking at this in a modern IDE to see what things are not used. So you could probably learn a lot just by going through and looking at the things that are currently commented out or the things that are not used, as you can see here. In some of these cases, some of them are probably not quite correct to say that it's not used. Okay, not standardized until C++11. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm going to shut this down. I guess thanks everyone for joining. Hopefully this was fun and we all learned a little bit. And yeah, it for the most part looks like really good code. A little leery about the delete this stuff. I think maybe that even when this was originally developed, there would have been a better way to do that and put it on a free list or something like that and then call the objects later. I'm not sure, but the rest of it, pretty good. Some things that could be made const expert today, like these pound defines that I'm looking at right now, with no overhead. But yeah, looks pretty good. So thanks everyone. Catch you later.